Hey friends, Stephanie here. So I am going to, today is day 9, post-Hurricane Helene, Western North Carolina. I'm going to do sort of a quick recap at the intro of this, and then I'll just take you along for some clips on what day 7 and day 8 looked like. I tried to record yesterday, and you just, at the end of the day, like, my brain wasn't comprehending. So, day 9, today is Saturday, and we're kind of getting our house in order here. You're going to hear little crop planes going over, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So just taking a break, and then I will head to downtown Marshall and work this afternoon. I'm hearing on the news, like Asheville is the topic, and I just want to kind of paint the picture of what we're dealing with here and kind of what is going on. Little crop planes. Those are new as of 2 days ago. We've had a lot of rescue helicopters and now supply helicopters getting resources in the mountains because people, we've gotten very resource heavy since I would say day 7. Resources rolled in with a vengeance in tons of areas, but not everyone can get to the resources. So there's a lot of people, bridges out in the hollers. They can't get across the waterway. They just can't get out. Roads are gone. So we have resources, but not everyone out there can get them. So there are crews with ATVs. There's been helicopters, rescue helicopters, all civilian led, 100%. I think there might, I'm not out there, but I'm only seeing civilian led things happening. So amazing. So that's amazing. The way people have come together and just established systems so quickly. So the talk is like Asheville, and just so you know what we're dealing with here, and I keep hearing people call this biblical proportions. That is so true. I watched, it makes sense now when you think all the way back to the flood and how the landscape changed, because I watched in a few hours roads turn into rivers. And not just turn into rivers like they flooded. I mean, the road is gone and it is now a river. So it just changed so many things. Like people's houses, not only are the houses gone, but the land that the house was on is gone. And now the riverbank there is just wider, and it's a riverbank. So incredible stuff. So Asheville is we are Western North Carolina. We are northwest of Asheville in a small town called Marshall. The towns are built in the valleys typically around here, and they run along the rivers. So the towns are destroyed. Our town is completely destroyed. That's common over and over and over, in town to town to town to town to town. So Asheville there's a lot of talk about Asheville, and so I just want to kind of paint the picture there. I would say if this is a 1,000-piece puzzle, and it's probably more like a 5,000-piece puzzle, because I know this goes all the way up to Boone, goes into Tennessee, people in South Carolina affected. They're 4 pieces of the puzzle. They get 4 pieces because they are bigger and it was more industrial. And what happened in the Swannanoa area is mind-blowing. It just wiped infrastructure out, commercial infrastructure gone. So it's huge, obviously. Businesses gone. Roads, they say there's holes in the roads that semi-trucks can fall in. Just massive infrastructure is gone in there. And there's talk of loss of life and the numbers that are coming through. And, I think some people think those are the numbers. Those are the numbers for 4 of the puzzle pieces. So I was just kind of thinking through our area and what I know has happened here, and based on the population and the percent, you can kind of do the math. The loss of life, and I'm sure this won't be talked about, is going to be astronomical because of how big this was. So every town, these haulers, people that are still in the back country, they don't have resources, clean water, food. There's also this misconception that people that live rural in a lot of these areas live there because they're self-sufficient and know how to handle situations like this. That is true for a lot of people. There are a lot of people who choose to live that way because they want to be self-sufficient. But that it's also where a lot of the very, very, very poor people live. who may be able to survive harsher conditions, but they don't have resources. These are people that weren't prepared. So I was giving out food on day 7 in an area, just needed a break from mucking, and went out to do some of that kind of service work, and was meeting people. They don't want to take stuff because they feel like they are better off because they can actually like hike for a half a mile and then get in their car and drive to town. Like, that's what we're dealing with. Those are the people, and they're really hesitant to take things. And so we were like, no, please take, and then just give them to people out there. You know, anytime we can get people supplies to where they are. So we're kind of like having to force people to take things. But the thing that they're taking are, I mean, keep you alive for a day or two, like snacks, chips, granola bars, a case of bottled water, some cans of tuna and crackers. Like, this isn't, and a lot of them have to go on foot too, so you can't take like huge grocery bags of things. So it's not healthy food, for one. It's not food that's going to sustain you. And they didn't want, like, we couldn't get rid of beans, rice, and flour because people don't know how to cook beans, rice, and flour if they don't have access to water and power. They don't have systems in place. So there are tons of people in these rural areas that aren't self-sufficient and that don't have things like gas stoves or a way to cook substantial food like beans and rice. Or clean water. I mean, if you don't have a way to cook beans and rice, you don't have a way to boil water, right? So, huge problems. So just, that's how vast it is. It's huge. It's unbelievable. It's truly, truly unbelievable. So we're safe. We're high and dry. We were from Florida originally, lived on the creek right next to the river. We got hit by 2 hurricanes in 1 year. Like, just the peripherals, it destroyed our property. We understand how damaging water can be. So we chose to live high and dry. When we moved out this way, we were landlocked for a bit. And so that's something to consider too. Like, we're not as rural because we're, you know, some people are 45 minutes into areas. Out here, we're not. We're close to our small town and then 30 minutes away from like one of the more bigger cities where I'd go to CrossFit and stuff. But we were still like cut off. So there were days with no power, no water, no cell, no communication, and no way out because both of our bridges went under, which is mind blowing. I'll show you guys how high these bridges are one day. The water came up higher than the 1916 historical flood in this area. The water came up. It's anywhere from 5 to 9 feet. I've heard both, so maybe somewhere in there, but just insane. So a lot of people, and this is another thing, a lot of people didn't have flood insurance in these areas. Or if they did, like in town, our friends had flood insurance, but not for the things, their property. Because why would it, you would never think it would come in that high. Like, why would you have flood insurance for those things? Houses, like in the Swannanoa area and different areas, like maybe the house closest to the river evacuated because they were closest. But then 2, 3 houses in floated away. Why would you ever, if you were in that third house, think to evacuate? That's why so many people, if you're watching these videos on social media, so many people are still in these homes. We have people ride it out on the second floor in our downtown area, and I cannot even imagine when you're watching entire buildings floating by and you're on a second story. Just terrifying. I can't imagine what that was like. But we've seen tons of those videos of people in their homes. The water is, they're watching buildings and houses floating down next to them. Because why would you, I mean, nobody, who would ever even comprehend it could get that bad. So there's that. I mean, a lot of people don't have flood insurance in those areas. So hope that's $750. You know, that'll take care of everything, right? So we were landlocked, no cell, no way out. My husband did go try to get through the back way to a different town, and the roads would be washed out or flooded. And so he was kind of getting lost and a little bit confused because there's no GPS or anything. And so you start taking those back roads and you can end up way off track if you're not super familiar with the back roads. and then like this one's closed, so you got to turn right. This one's closed, you got to turn left. And by closed, I mean not by city officials. They just weren't passable because of trees, water, bridges out, all of that stuff. So we had ham radio. I am going to do a prepper specific video in the next couple of days on the things, because I felt very established here. We were ready for a month well, we're ready for longer than a month, but we had originally heard we have ham radios. So one of the biggest things is people had no idea what was going on. So we would go down by the river and meet people from our church and from our community here, and no one knew what was going on because there was no Wi-Fi, no cell, no communication. Everybody was cut off. And so we were able to get information because we had the ham radios. Those were super crucial to not feeling so confused and isolated. Like we would just gather around and listen. And it made us feel better, and we understood like how huge this was, which really helped us to kind of get our things in order in the house. Originally, we were preparing for about a month with no power and cell in our area because we are so close to like devastation zones, but they got us up and running pretty quickly. I think day 5. Not cell. We got cell yesterday, which was day 8. So that's how it is, like some areas. But then I've got neighbors just not far who still have no power, no water. So, and they had cell a little bit faster than us. So it's kind of drizzling in. And I know, the goal was like get the easy stuff fixed. And so our power must run on the other, like upper side, and the stuff downtown runs on a different side because there's no even power poles. Like they're gone down the river, and many, like for miles and miles and miles and miles. So I know the goal was like get people the quickest things online because it saves lives. If you've got people and medical devices and things that need power, like that's where lives are lost. Clean water, things like that. Weaverville, the city closest to us, where my gym's at, they still have no power and water on day 9. So a lot of people evacuated out of there just because they live in the more cities, like apartments and things, and don't have ways to live for 2 weeks, 9 days without power and water. So just want to share that, like me thinking about those kind of things. Now, I have friends that there aren't even roads. They're just now able to take side-by-sides to get in there. So that's how bad those roads are. I mean, that's months before they might be able to clear it enough. I don't know. I mean, some areas there's just no road. Like the road's literally washed away and now it's a river bed. So those areas, I mean, I can't imagine I've heard as like in our downtown, it could be as long as 4 months before there's water because the water treatment facilities, so those on city water, they're gone. They were destroyed in the floods. So Asheville doesn't have water. Asheville doesn't have, I think there's power in Asheville in some spots now. Again, like they're working on the easy stuff, and then there's huge infrastructure that has to be rebuilt out there before people will have power again in certain areas, and water. The water treatment facility out there was very destroyed. Other concerns, we did get some good news yesterday. Again, this is all civilian. When you hear the crop planes, that started 2 days ago. I'm guessing they're just bringing in larger loads because now there's so many people donating from other states. Originally, it was helicopters, and a lot of small rescue helicopters were the big thing, just trying to locate people, figure out who people are and what their needs are. Now we've been resource heavy over the last couple of days. All civilian led. The infrastructure that was built for these systems just by volunteer and community is incredible. The amount of work that's getting done, that is 100% civilian led. I have seen 2 Army trucks came into Marshall for a couple of hours one day, and then I saw 3 like ATV-ish, like something you would see like in the Middle East. They were going into some of the backcountry areas. There were 150 private ATVs through the fire department out there is doing an amazing job. And then I know the Cajun Navy came in and they've got helicopters and they had a big ATV crew. So all that area that's real rural, that just, it goes on and on and on and on. Lots of towns out there kind of isolated. these are towns that are like an hour and a half plus and further from Asheville or big cities. So they have mobilized and are getting a lot of work done out there, because it doesn't matter if you have a lot of resources. That helps people that can get to them, but a lot of these people can't even get to the resources. So there's that issue. So day 9, just kind of getting our own house in order today, and then I'll go into town and do some work. I like the hard labor. It just helps me personally. That's where I feel like I'm skilled, and like shoveling muck, and it just is a job. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So, and I don't know. I like hard work. It helps me to manage my own stress in situations like this. Yesterday we were trying to get a lot of things done, and there just was like too many people for the jobs at hand. And so I just want to go back to like where I know they need people, because not everyone wants to shovel this disgusting muck. And there was also, we did get good news. This is what I was trying to say. Independent people were concerned because a plastics company went down above us and a plastics company went down below us. I know 6 lives were lost in the one that went out in Tennessee. I actually thought they were lost in the one that was above us, but it turned out to be the one below us. All those chemicals went into the water. So there is a huge concern about the contamination. There were also, like under our bridge, it looks like a toilet paper wad, gas. I don't know if it's there still, but it was just this huge diesel tank that came from a small area up the river. We saw propane tanks and gas, like barrels. People keep gas barrels on their properties here. At one after the next, like that was just a common thing, was these propane tanks and gas tanks over and over all day long. And their houses, those were attached to houses that no longer exist, or if some exist, it just the tanks came down into all the housing material. Like there's so much in the water and the mud, so there's been concern about that. They got an air report back because now it's dry, and so it's really dusty. And so there's concern. I'm wearing respirators when we're down there. But they said it was fine. So that was good news. The mud, they're trying to test it. I honestly don't even know if I want to know at this point. We have gotten a lot of PPE gear in, like more hazmat suit. I don't know what you call those things. I don't know if they're hazmat suits, but there's like white suits to kind of keep things off your skin. Yeah. So that's day 9. I'm going to feed in day 7 and day 8. I will be back to talk about the preps. Get your houses in order. The world's crazy. This is insane what has happened. And we are like nowhere near the end of this situation that's happened. But there's also a lot going on in the world and other things. And I just think it's a great time. 2020 was a great time to really lean into this concept. And if you didn't do it then, I would do it now. It is literally the difference between life or death for some people. And already has been for some people. Growing your own food, my systems. I'm about to go start some things for my new hydroponic system. I have a harvest wall, which is a hydroponic system that runs on the tiniest amount of power. I've got my towers. The fresh food is key. Like I mentioned, the people coming to get resources are getting boxed, processed foods. They don't know or don't have the resources to cook real food like beans and rice, and they don't have access to fresh produce and things like that. And that also makes a huge difference in your health and your well-being. Like fresh food, many are cooking at different drop zones, and they come in and they haven't had a hot meal in 5-6 days, some of these people. Fresh food. I met some people who hiked 22 miles in one day. I don't know if I mentioned this in my last one. 11 in, 11 out. And they can't take things back with them. They were actually just trying to get communication to get a 4-wheeler. And then when I met them, they came down, took a hot meal. They were going to pick up the 4-wheeler that a family member had bought them and had delivered over there, so that they don't have to hike 22 miles if they need something. So fresh food. a way to take care of yourself medically and an understanding. Have your books and your supplies, because if it happens, it's too late if you don't have them. That is one of my biggest concerns for people out in the backcountry or in these areas that haven't been located yet. Like I mentioned, some are preparedness minded and have resources. A lot are just very poor and they've always lived out there and that's where they live, and they rely on systems, modern systems, grocery stores, modern medical systems. So a cut can become a life or death situation after a few days, and we're going on day 9. So these things can escalate very, very quickly if you don't know how to deal with certain things, especially because it's not, I had this happen with the hurricanes. I had 2 burns, and we were moving chickens and we're dealing with dirty water. And I ended up with cellulitis twice, both hurricanes. I got it from moving gear and trying to work in water that wasn't clean. And you got to know how to handle and take care of things, because something like that can become deadly if you don't know how to get it under control. So get your house in order. That's my message. Here's day 7 and day 8. Hey, good morning, friends. I am packed up. Going to do a different kind of day today. Will you put that one in the car? That's so heavy.
What?
This one. Will you put that in the car? Just taking a mud break today. We're going to help shovel someone's house out. And like I said, I made a YouTube on my last video. You know, it's like 2 feet deep. It's hard. Don't mind doing it. Just need a little break. Oh, I've got some starts here. I don't know what those are. I think they're still, I don't know what those are. And I've got some mold here. I have not checked on these. Not once. I've got mushroom problems too. But I have new spawn coming in. So I'm going to deep clean the mushroom grow tent. Get mushrooms growing. Just want to put eyes on a few things. What am I in here for? I'm rambling. I'm in here, thank you, brain, to get supplies to take to my friend for her tower so she can grow her own. She needs more lettuce to start, to have access to fresh food. So important. So going to a different part of town. I shared in my stories some of the stories coming out of that part of town. People have been eating for days. There's a lot of people who haven't made it and survived, and those areas haven't been cleared out because you can't get to them. So I'm going to a more rural part of town today, and then we're just going to distribute goods where we can. So I'm going to do like a preparedness video another day and just talk about like what I did right with these towers and how you can manage them in this situation. These went without power for 4 days. And they're amazing. I was able to keep them alive just by hand watering, and everything is thriving and doing so good. So cucumbers are starting to become ready. I mean, this is such a blessing to have fresh food. And there's this weird, we're kind of in the thick of this, and there's this weird like, where's the National Guard? And some people are like anti, you know, kind of talking about how they're not here, and some people are assuming they're here, and that's who rescues people. The people who are doing the work on the ground are local community, local government. Worked with some firefighters in our local community yesterday, shoveling mud. Like, those are the boots on the ground, are the community, us. We are the they. So just know that. I have seen the military helicopters coming in and delivering food. I've filmed that. So, but they're going to the shelter areas, and that's where they're delivering food. So a lot of people are in the shelters because their homes are gone. Now we're getting a second wave of people who are hiking out of the woods on foot with what they can carry on their backs, some little kids, and through very muddy situations, and kind of, you know, no roads, no bridges, that type of thing, because they're out of resources. There's no power and water, and they don't have power and water and food or a way to live without those things. So they're hiking out now, and they're going to end up in the shelters. That is where that food, when you see those military helicopters coming over, that's where that stuff's going. And downtown, I know there's food distribution and things downtown, which, you know, I'm not going downtown as part of my volunteer efforts because it's not safe. So I'm glad they're down there caring for the people in those areas because they need it. And it's not a safe situation for, you know, moms from churches to go volunteer. So, you know, just think about that when you're preparing. Like, would you want to have to evacuate on foot and go to a shelter in dangerous parts of the city? Not all of them. There's one locally here because the people that were local here. But would you want to be in that situation? I personally would never want to be in that situation. I would rather live for months without power and water and just be able to sustain in our home than have to hike out and go to a shelter, me personally. So just planting that seed. The theme's going to be preparedness because, you know, that's essentially why we've done what we've done here, is to be able to feed ourselves in an emergency and in a non-emergency. Are looking legit. Another helicopter. Just take a tour. Let me show you. This is food security. The mushrooms. Did I show you the mushrooms in the last video? I think I did show you the mushrooms. So the update, day 8. I feel like there's good news today. We were down working at a church member's home, about 16 inches in her house. It got a little jammed up. A lot of volunteer crews have rolled in, lots of them. We were out in Burnesville yesterday, and it went from, and Barnardsville, those areas just like popped off. People got word that there were people in need over there, and the supplies came in. People got established at their posts that they're creating. These are all civilian-led or, Christian militia type groups. The fire department over there has been amazing in Burnesville. My friend who is trapped in that area, actually know 2 people. So when I was over there, I was talking to somebody, talked to some people who were coming out of the mountains, who are trapped up there, and they're getting access, and they got Starlink so they can communicate. And right now they can get on side-by-sides or ATVs or 4-wheelers to get in and out in some of those areas. Not all of them, but in this one particular area where my friend's at, which just gives them access, which is great. And I believe the fire department took over the quarry equipment over there and are trying to get the roads passable, at least by ATVs and side-by-sides and things like that. So good things happening. Had a helicopter land where we were working today. It was Samaritan's Purse dropping off resources. I think it was batteries. I don't even know what else. It was like power kind of stuff, batteries, flashlights, things like that. You can set up for them and they will drop in different areas. So yeah, lots of resources. I would say right now the resources have been coming in. That doesn't mean we don't need more. It's just there's a lot right now, but they're gonna go fast. So it's just great news. It just feels a little more positive today. My friend over in the town over where my gym's at, they got water back on. They have power supposed to come on. What did he say? I don't know. Soon. So we'll see if that happens. That'll really help that area. That was the area I had said some of the looting had spread to. He said it doesn't seem to be getting out of control over there, and he felt pretty safe. Now he's got bang bangs, so that makes a difference how you feel about your safety. But it doesn't sound like it's gotten crazy there. There are stories coming out of parts of Asheville that are pretty crazy sounding. They're all secondhand. I can't verify those, but it's nice to know our one town over seems pretty stable right now. Schools. My daughter's school gave us notice, not next week, but the week of the 14th, that they will start. She's in a hybrid 3-day-a-week school where she goes to classes 3 days a week and is home 2, and she will start her home days October 14th. As of right now, that could change. It's just, I think they're trying to set a date, and the dates have moved multiple times. That is the date right now. I think it'll depend on power, water, safety, roads. The boys' school, they go to a school downtown, AB Tech. They're in a dual enrollment. They're both there, different times. My son goes at night. And that, I don't know. We might have to hold off a semester and not go back. I don't think I'm going to feel comfortable unless something dramatic changes over the next 2 weeks. And they actually haven't announced when they're opening back up, actually. I've heard no word from his school. And his school is actually a shelter for a lot of people, parts of it. And it's also connected to the hospital over there, Mission Hospital, which I've heard is pretty rough right now. So we're just going to have to wait and see if that feels safe to allow them to go into that part of town. There's only one way in and out now because of what's happened. Both other routes that we could have taken, there's 3 routes they can take. 2 of them are no longer options. Those parts of town were destroyed. So I don't know. We'll just have to take that. If we have to just not go back until next semester or start something completely different, that might be an option as well. Well, our local high school here is a shelter. It's now our church. It's a drop zone for supplies. So many things going on in that building. I can't imagine that school is on the radar for Madison anytime soon. Again, I don't think anybody knows. I think we just take it day by day. So that gets me back to like what I originally made me think of this was like the kids will ask me like, what are we doing tomorrow? Because every day is something. And it's like, sometimes we have a plan. We knew what we were doing today, and we just kind of wait and get word. Who needs help? Where are we going to go work? And we get up and go do those things. And then we repeat. It's Groundhog Day. So I shared this on my last video. So here's what 2 days looks like. They are amazing. I want to do a little filming, and then I'm going to harvest them tonight. People have asked me, like, how do you keep predators away? You don't. You just share. So something's nibbled. I always wonder what it is. I think it's turtles when they're big bites like this. I'm pretty sure it's turtle bites. When it's like this, it's like a slug. These little ones, but these big bites that look like something came and just bit them. I don't know. It could have been a slug. Oh yeah, this one's a slug because it's still there. Oh, it's one of those big slugs. Huh. Okay. Here, look at that big slug. That's what's biting some of these. So you got to kind of harvest them in time, beat the slugs, and check them, make sure there's nothing in there. Eating your food. We'll share with this guy. He can have this one. Food security. This is how I prepare to take care of us from the grocery store level. There's preps in the house. There's things stocked up. Get stocked up. So our grocery stores here are yesterday and today. They're still only taking cash. That's why there's gas. I mentioned that before, and groceries, because there isn't. I actually haven't been in there. I heard there's shortages, but there's things being delivered. People are able to come in, but a lot of people don't have cash. So grocery store, I'm not going in there. I'm going to order things from Azure. I got confirmation they were going to deliver in our area, so we've got access to that. And then I grow this food. This is so I don't have to rely on the grocery store. And I highly recommend getting a plan like that. I'll put a link to the towers. It makes all the difference. Got some starts down here as far as being able to take care of yourself and not rely on systems that can easily be taken out. We've got lots of green beans. So many green beans. These need to be harvested. They're getting big. So I'm going to do that tonight after I get a shower and I'm clean. Because when we grow food this way, we can actually be clean when we're gardening. We don't have to worry about getting dirty. I'm over being dirty and mucky. Red peppers, a lot of hot peppers on here. There's corbachis, which are so delicious. I don't even know the name of all these peppers. There's a corbachi. Corbachi? I think that's how you say it. Jalapenos. This whole tower is green beans. This is my tall tower I set up. And food grows taller on the top. Or not taller. Food grows a little faster on the top on a typical tower. But I'm not noticing that here. It seems to all be pretty equal, which is amazing. So it's all Emiko cabbages. There's some mustards. I don't know what this is. I think it's a mustard. And then towards the middle here where I can reach, we have arugula, a whole row of cilantro, lettuce. I'm actually going to have a fresh salad tonight for sure. This tower we have squash. It's about to get cold. I don't know if these aren't getting pollinated, and I would typically hand pollinate them, but we've been a little busy. Huge, beautiful lettuce here. Eggplant. Parsley, some tomatoes. A lot of warm weather crops. So I will end up, these will go to the cucumbers as soon as it starts to get cold. So I'll just consolidate and get a tower ready for winter. I've got purple cabbage. The purple lady bok choy. So beautiful. This tower is peas. These are the Patio Pride. And they come in kind of small initially until the bush gets bushier. So I'm just trying to stay on top of harvesting them because they also get a little bit fibrous, like fiber tough. They get tough. So as the plant gets bigger, they taste better, or they aren't as tough. But when they're small like this, and it's been hot, which doesn't help. So I'm actually going to saute these with some sesame seeds and a little sesame seed oil for tonight. Like this one turned to peas, so I'll snack on that right now. They come in so fast that you turn your attention away for 2 minutes and they will get too big. So there's another one. So those are the peas. Up here, turnips. Look at this. Beautiful turnips. Oh my gosh, I love them. I actually have a bunch of turnips I need to eat. I'm gonna make a soup. A corn chowder with turnips. These are all turnips, arugula, chives. This is all arugula that will actually be ready to eat. It's ready to eat now. I could start harvesting that. I typically harvest the whole thing and start over because it tastes better and things grow better and faster. But I haven't had time to do any new starts. So I'm probably gonna cut these and let them grow back one more time, which is an option when you're really busy. So that's a great option actually. All right, over here, got bell peppers. Got snake cucumber. Lots of bell peppers turning red. Down there, herbs. I got a purple bell pepper, celery, bok choys, onions, thyme. Ooh, cauliflower. We got baby cauliflower coming in. Oh, that's exciting. All right, super fun. Food security.